we are in a hot air balloon in Napa Valley, and I think hot air balloons are synonymous with wine country and taking in all the scenery. I'm Adrianne Calvo, chef, author, traveler, and restaurateur. I've been cooking for as long as I can remember, and along the way, I created a little something called maximum flavor. That's my style of cooking. I want to activate all parts of the palate: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and spicy, sending delicious endorphins to your brain. And now, I'm on the hunt for inspiration. Join me as I head out in search of maximum flavor. Hey guys, so we're here in Napa Valley, California, the place that inspired me to open my very first restaurant, Chef Adrianne's Vineyard Restaurant and Wine Bar. This place not only shares my story, it also shares the story of food, wine, and family. Family is something that is very important to Jenny Wagner, whose family owns one of my favorite vineyards, Caymus. Tell me, how does it feel to be a female winemaker?
It feels good.
Yeah.
I love it, but I think other ladies in the industry have kind of paved the path for female winemakers, and there's a lot now.
Because you're not just a female winemaker, but you're a female winemaker with this epic name.
That's a compliment. Thank you to, you know, my dad would be very proud, my grandparents. We're all family owned. We run our business, you know, we farm the grapes with our own vineyard team. So we have a very kind of, you know, beyond blood family. We have like a Caymus family here. We're just continuing trying to make the best wine we can.
So family is kind of like the epicenter of everything in Napa.
I think being family owned and run is very important to us, and we continue. But we plan to pass this on to the next generation.
I think that when you can run, no matter how big your operation is or how successful it is, it's that much more beautiful when you do it with family, with people that you love and care about, and help build what, you know, the story that it is today. Building a business with people I love is something I know a bit about. And I'm on this Napa adventure with two people who are very special to me. Bruce, my corporate brand manager, and Egg, my corporate executive chef. But to make this trip even more special, I decided to fly my family out for an unforgettable surprise, a dinner at arguably the most iconic restaurant in the United States. We're here at the French Laundry, and the first time I stood here, I was 19 years old. I had come here with my mom on a trip that changed my life forever and for the better, and I couldn't even fathom the idea that I would one day eat here. But furthermore, I couldn't even imagine that I would eat here with the people that would help make my dream come true. Chef, so I have to tell you that close to like 15 years ago, I was sitting with you at your other restaurant in Bouchon.
Here, in Napa.
In Napa.
Okay.
And this was before I opened the restaurant in Miami. And you said, well, you sat next to me, just like what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of super emotional about this. And you said, if people drive for your food, it will be a testament to your craft.
Yeah.
And so I opened a restaurant in the middle of nowhere in Miami, believing innocently, 22 years old, in your words, and it was successful because of that. People drove from everywhere because of that, so thank you. Napa isn't just where my journey as a restaurateur began. It's also where the U.S. entered the wine scene. And it all started here at Charles Krug Winery. So I'm meeting its famous owner, Peter Mondavi, to hear the story. My mic is right here, but it's really close to my heart, and I don't know if you guys can hear like the boof, boof, boof. And that's because I am super starstruck here, because I am standing next to Peter Mondavi.
Charles Krug Winery was founded by, of course, Charles Krug. But he came to the United States, settled in San Francisco, but then got introduced to home winemaking through friends and neighbors that had small vineyards. He fell in love with winemaking and fell in love with Carolina Bale. The reason that's important is that her family was a very prominent family. They had like 17,000 acres up here in Napa Valley. And they received a dowry of about 600 acres. And then in 1861, he pursued his love of winemaking and established Krug Winery. Yeah, my grandparents, well, they were born in Italy, and they basically came from sharecropper families. They had their honeymoon cruise, which ended up in Ellis Island. Really tight-knit Italian community there, missing their wine during Prohibition. They rallied around my grandfather, who was dealing in fruits and vegetables. He jumped on a train, came to California during harvest and negotiated some contracts and shipped back fresh grapes and sold them to the locals for home winemaking. So the family moved out in 1922 and built up a kind of a nice little empire, shipping fresh grapes for home winemaking. And then after repeal, got involved directly with the wine business. And then in 1943, because of their financial success, were able to buy this property, Krug Winery.
You have wines everywhere, right? But where can you go and walk the property?
No,
and then talk to Peter Mondavi. Like, really?
No, we do have a lot of history here, and it has evolved and changed quite dramatically over the years.
Cheers to amazing stories and an amazing winemaker history.
Thank you.
Our restaurant is inspired by Napa Valley. It's inspired by this culture. It's inspired by this landscape. So the short rib, which was actually rated as Thrillist 50 Things You Have to Eat Before You Die, is made with a beautifully delicate balance, because you can't cook with anything you wouldn't drink, right? So that's like the foundation of great cooking.
And
right
obviously I tasted a few bottles to make sure
yes.
it was good quality to,
yes.
you know, brace our short ribbon.
Yet Napa Valley would not get its notoriety on the wine scene until more than a century later, in 1976, thanks to a wine I'm about to try. Well, an older version of it. But you have to work for everything in life, so my producers made me bike ride all the way there.
So this is our 2017 SLV, Stags Leap Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon, and this is what really put not only Stags Leap Wine Cellars, but Napa Valley on the map.
This changed everything once they tasted this, right?
It did. In 1976, there was a gentleman by the name of Stephen Spurrier. He was a English wine merchant, but he had heard about all this California wine being made, and so he decided to come and check some of it out. And in his travels discovered that there were some, what he thought was some really, really excellent wines being made out here. So he decided that he was going to set up a blind tasting back in Paris. In that competition, Stags Leap Vineyard 1973 Cabernet Sauvignon won in a blind tasting and beat out all the other Bordeaux varietals and was named the best by the French judges. The thing about the Judgment of Paris, though, too, is that as much as Stephen had tried to get the word out that he was going to have this competition, none of the media or publications really wanted to show up. And at the last second, a writer from Time magazine decided to come to the competition, wrote a little article about it in a issue of the 1976 Time magazine, and it from there blew up. And that really is what put California and Napa Valley on the winemaking map.
So it's safe to say that a lot of us are here visiting Napa Valley because of this.
Yes, because of this wine right here.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Have you seen wine pairings and food pairings evolve?
Now, if you ask Stephen Spurrier, the gentleman who put us on the map, he has a famous saying where he always says, drink for mood, not for food. So he's really big on just kind of drinking for whatever your heart desires.
Drink for mood, not for food. I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
So that is his infamous saying.
Well, in terms of mood, a great wine is always a good choice. But I will say that as a chef, I do like the idea of a food and wine pairing. We are now headed to an incredible food and wine pairing experience that is so true to this region. Welcome to Il Pranzo at the Round Pond Estate. First, I'm going to learn all about the wine, and then I'm going to enjoy it with some delicious food. So guys, I want you to meet John Wilson. He's the winemaker here at Round Pond Estate. Basically, you're responsible for the alchemy here, right?
That's right.
The magic. So tell me a little bit about what you do here, day-to-day operation.
We make wine, of course, but we also make olive oil. We grow our own olive trees and have our own olive mill. We're one of 2 olive mills in Napa Valley. We have olive groves intermixed. The vineyard property is pretty big. It's about 365 acres of vines. We produce wine off of about 40% of the vineyards that we farm.
How much wine can, like, let's say this section produce?
It might make a gallon. The goal is to establish balance in the vineyard between how much fruit you're hanging and how much growth you have. So if you have too much fruit on the vine, you may not develop the flavors that you want, or you may not accumulate as much sugar as you need to hit your goal alcohol. And so we will come through and identify how much fruit is there and if we should remove any.
Insane how
there is some sacrifice to establish quality.
That's so important in everything that we do, whether it's in the kitchen or out here for you, how everything has its purpose, but just driven around quality being like the epicenter of everything.
And Round Pond is unique in that we have a very genuine farm-to-table culinary program here at the tasting room.
I may look calm right now as I'm standing here, but I am jumping up and down inside like a kid at Christmas for the experience that we're about to have. So, Chef Ryan Seal, Executive Chef of Round Pond Estate. I have to say I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to experience a pranzo. What inspired you to create this?
It's just a way for us to really showcase our wines in a different way. We obviously do our wine tasting and express that to our guests that are coming here, but we wanted to showcase it. Food has always been a focus of the winery. Farming is obviously very important to us. It's fancy farming with our grapes, but to showcase our gardens and our property and to put that into a food and a wine setting to really showcase something different and how those wines change with salt and fat and food and how that, you know, a guest can experience that in a different way.
Well, I cannot wait to see what you've created here. Wow, pairs perfectly, brings everything out. I mean, you can't figure out if the wine brings the flavors of the food forward or if the food brings the flavors of the wine forward. I mean, it does both.
So what we try to do is obviously the wine comes first, and we're trying to showcase that. When you're adding in salt, fat, herbs, different flavors, a little bit of acidity in there as well, it can tone down some of the things that are harsh in wine, like tannins, and bring that acid down. So you bring the fruit flavor of the wine, which obviously is coming from the grapes, and really showcase that wine in a slightly different way.
So I'm tasting the richness from the brown butter. Like the brown butter really comes through. Then you have just a tad of acid to balance perfectly. I guess the deglazing with the Sauvignon Blanc perfectly balances this dish. And I love the crunch from the sunflower seeds and the bark. Exceptional. Yeah. I just feel like we're experiencing
The best.
This is a living dream right here.
This is definitely
yeah,
bucket list stuff.
Yes,
that
bucket
wasn't
list.
even in our bucket list.
This one.
Cheers to the fun buzz.
The fun buzz.
And wow moments.
Yes. It's fork tender. I've read Ruth Rachel's Tender at the Bone several times, and when she describes eating any type of braised meat, she says that the only, if you can eat it with a fork, it's the only way that you know that a braised meat is done very well. And the other part is if you could actually taste the wine that it's cooked in. Like you could kind of close your eyes and be like, okay, this was made with this kind of wine, not just a cooking wine. And this just hits all the marks, all of them. This is definitely Napa on a plate. This is where you can, I think, you savor the landscape, you savor the labor of love that is winemaking, and I think this is where the two worlds like marry, and it's here on a showcase for guests to enjoy. I think this is what enriches life, to be able to taste this. You taste, again, you taste the stories, you taste the story of the winemaker, you taste the story of the family that put this all together, you taste the passion of the chef. And this is just, it's incredible. You have to come here. My memories in Napa at 19 inspired my first restaurant and its dishes, especially my short rib. So now we're back in my kitchen, and speaking of wonderful, beautiful interpretations, I'm going to show you how to make that dish I was talking about. Braised prime beef short rib. Now, that's a classic dish. They do it in France, they do it in Italy, they do it in Spain, they do it in America, right? But it's up to us chefs to interpret it, and this is what I got for you. So after I filled this up with the braising liquid, I'm going to start layering in the aromatics, which is our fresh herbs. We have here some rosemary, some fresh thyme, and some fresh oregano. Now you could add some sage if you'd like, but these are like my top 3 favorites. Rosemary, oregano, and thyme. Now we cover this up. Make sure it's airtight. And into the oven we go for a minimum of 3 hours. Minimum. If you're doing this at home, over at Chef Adrianne's, we do these for 24 hours at 250 degrees. And this is how you do braised short ribs, maximum flavor style. Want to watch more of this? Make sure to subscribe for more maximum flavor.